I'm sitting here with Ernest, one of the most earnest souls I know. Hello, Ernest Andrews, Albert.
Yes. Often known as Al.
Al.
Good morning.
Al Andrews. How are you, friend?
I'm doing well this morning.
I'm
Thanks.
so glad that you're sitting here in the Human Hope Podcast studios hanging out with me because as I told you prior on our phone call that we had yesterday, 2 days ago, I can't remember. But when I go and I do my Kill the Spider talk, and I talk about, I was sitting in my therapist Al's office, and then I say, just imagine the one guy you know named Al, and that's what he looks like. And everyone starts laughing because everyone has a different picture of what Al looks like. I just think you look like what I would want an owl to look like. You like right now, like I'm looking across the microphone from you. It's so perfect.
Well, that's very kind.
And so people just know that, wow, this guy knows things about Carlos that nobody else does. So that needs to be where we start. So how's that make you feel?
Just fine, thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, somebody one time asked me, like maybe 15 years after I'd seen them, like, you know where all the bodies are buried. And I said, I don't want to tell you this, but I don't remember a lot of the bodies that we buried.
Yeah.
Or that you buried. So be comforted that I don't remember everything.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. No, that is good.
Yeah.
Well, I invited you to be part of our mental health series, just because you played an important role not only in my life but in so many people in Nashville's lives. Because let's just kind of start here, kind of let everybody know the work that you do with Porter's Call. And what is Porter's Call, and how you're involved with it, and kind of what they do.
Yeah, well, Porter's Call is a nonprofit that I founded about 22 years ago. I was a counselor in private practice, and had just moved to town. And after the first year, I looked at my clientele, and it was 90% music related.
Yeah,
and I kept on with the practice, and more artists came to see me. And I realized that something about what I was doing in therapy just didn't feel like it was working with artists.
Yeah.
One, most of them couldn't afford to pay me if they're early in their careers, which is a lot of people are early in their careers.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't keep cutting my rates for
Right.
everybody.
Right.
But also they couldn't come regularly.
Yeah.
When I went to counseling, I went on Tuesdays at 11.
Yeah.
And I could do that every week.
Yeah.
And I've never met an artist that could come every Tuesday at 11. And I began seeing that there were some things that they were dealing with that just kind of ramped up the decibels, I guess.
Yeah.
And that would be struggles with some money, a lot of money, or not enough money.
Right.
Struggles with not enough fame or too much fame.
Wow.
Struggles with what people believe I am because what they see on stage, and what I know I am, which is different. And often the struggle of which one of those to buy into.
Right.
And the fact that nothing could get going regularly, and the money, all that kind of stuff, it just led me to this entrepreneurial idea, frankly, that I would go to 5 labels and ask them to buy a day of my counseling practice, and I'd see their artists for free. And so I made a choice to go see Peter York, who was the president of Sparrow at the time. Made my little pitch. Hey, you guys are spending millions of dollars on artists and their careers, and we're watching them crash and burn.
Yeah.
And everybody loses.
Wow.
They lose, you lose, the reputation of the faith loses in this case. And would you be interested in supporting their hearts and souls?
Wow.
And he said, yes. And I was a little freaked out because I didn't have a business plan.
You're like, okay, wait a second.
I didn't know how much to
Now
charge.
what?
Yeah. Anyway, we worked it out. They did a little test pilot for 3 months on Wednesdays. They bought Wednesdays. And at the end of 3 months, the leadership came back and said something good is happening with our artists. They have a place to go. It's free for them. Would you be willing to create a nonprofit, and we will help shake the trees in the industry to get it supported? And that's how it started.
Wow.
And that was in 2001.
Wow. 2001.
And so since then, I think we've lost count of the number of artists. Maybe 3,000 artists have come through the door. About 40 artists or spouses a week come through our doors, and for counsel and support, just recording artists. And even with that fence, if you will,
it's booked solid.
It's booked out, and we're just glad to be able to be a safe place for artists to come and get the help they need with this crazy life that they are asked to live.
Well, and it's getting crazier. Would you say?
Yes. I mean, whether it's getting crazier or whether people are more comfortable going to get counseling, I'm not sure. At the very beginning, when people came to see me, it would they'd be wearing bags over their heads.
Sure, yeah. They're like, I don't want anyone to know that I'm going to see Al.
And if anybody endorsed us, it was signed an anonymous artist.
Oh, wow.
And, 22 years later, people are up on stage going,
oh, yeah.
Hey, my wife and I are going to Porter's Call. And now we have a team of 3 porters, and it's growing and trying to make space for people.
One of the things that was that I think is a beautiful part of Porter's Call is just the name and where the name comes from.
Yeah,
tell us that story. What is Porter's? What's a porter?
Well, my wife finds these things.
Yeah,
there's this document that's about 1,500 years old called the Rules of Saint Benedict.
Okay.
Way back when Benedict came to faith, and he had a bunch of buddies came to faith. It's probably not how it's written about in 500, but they came to faith, and they really started one of the early monasteries.
Okay.
And they wrote rules about how they were going to live. Like, one of the rules is, it's 90-some rules. One of the rules is we're going to pool our resources. One of the rules is we're going to take care of the poor.
Yep.
We're going to read the Bible this many times a day. Here's how we're going to read it. And rule number 66 is, inside the gates of the monastery, you shall place a porter. And a porter was described, you're going to love this. A porter was described as a wise old man who's finished with his days of wandering about.
Oh, wow. I love that.
So pick one of those that I am. Anyway, and when a sojourner knocks on the door, they call out, the porter's call. Thanks be to God. And your blessing, please. Thanks be to God is you're welcome here. And your blessing, please, is if we bless you, someday bless us back.
Yes.
And then they'd invite them in and help them find the way to what they needed.
Yes.
If they needed food, they'd feed them.
Yeah.
If they needed a place to sleep, they'd give them a place to sleep. And it says if they needed wise counsel, they'd give them wise counsel. So we decided that instead of being therapists to artists, we would be porters. And so when an artist knocks on the door, we welcome them in and help them find the way to what they need.
Wow.
And what they need is a lot of different things.
Yeah.
One of my earliest calls was from a kid out in L.A. He was on a tour, had no insurance, and he did one of those rock star jumps off the stage, and they missed him.
Oh, no.
And he shattered his ankle, and he called me from an indigent hospital in L.A. on morphine, going, I don't have insurance.
Oh, no.
And you said to call the porter. And so we scurried around and worked with MusiCares and others to help him do that. And then it's people come in for everything you would go to counseling with, whether it's something that came up from their past, whether they did something really stupid on the road, whether they just have marriage issues, whether they have depression. They come in, and if we can't help them, we'll give them referrals to who can.
That's amazing.
So
that's the porter.
That's the porter.
Yes. So just so everyone knows, when I first went there, I knocked on the door and Al opened the door with the robe on, and welcomed me into the monastery
And a hood.
It was awesome. It is funny because I do remember Heather and I went, and I do remember thinking, oh, I wonder if he was going to see me. I do remember that feeling of, because again, I mean, this was 2013, so this was still 10 years ago. Still before people were like, hey, everybody, this is my therapist, or whatever. And still, there being some shame, there being some, I mean, if people, because at the time I was like in the Christian music industry. So I was like, if people know, if my fans know that I'm not perfect, then that my story is not perfect. And one of the things that you really helped me do, and I think you help a lot of people do, is understand their story.
Yeah.
Lean into, for my listener, the importance of us really understanding our story and how that is, there's implications to our mental health and to anxiety and fear and depression and all these things when it comes to our stories.
Yeah. I don't know who said this, but, usually when you don't know it, you say it's St. Augustine or somebody.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It wasn't, but it was somebody
or
more
Abraham Lincoln.
Yes, somebody more recent probably, but they said, know your story or your story will live you. And I think, I grew up in a family of storytellers and I love good stories.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why I do counseling, because I love stories.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But in my own life, I realized, gosh, I didn't go seek help until I was about 32 years old.
Yeah.
And I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And as that progressed, I discovered some parts of my story that I'd actually forgotten.
Uh-huh.
And those events had been shaping my life, but I did not know it. And so to me, to invite someone to tell their story or to know their story.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many times if I were to say somebody, tell me your story, they go, well, I don't really have one.
Yeah.
I just grew up and went to school and whatever. And I go, no. There's a story. There's a story, and that story has a shape to it. I have this thing that I do sometime when I give a talk, and I'll show the beginning of a movie.
Yeah.
And it's this scene where there's a father and son walking down this little hillside in Ireland, getting in a boat, and they're just floating away as they get ready to fish. And at this beautiful day, this all happens in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And they come back up and they get to the house and they're sitting around, and the mother pulls out porridge and feeds it to them. And she says, how was your day? And they said, it was wonderful, little Frankie and I. And then I stopped the tape. And I've done that in a large group of people, and I'll ask the question, what happens next? And people say, somebody dies, the house blows up, there's a fight, and just awful things.
Yeah.
And I go,
Yeah.
gosh, you're a bunch of depressed people.
Right.
Nobody says they had dessert.
Right. Nobody does.
Nobody does. And I go, why are we going there? Because people say, because that innocence does not last in anybody's life.
Yeah.
I go, yeah. And they go, well, what happens next? And they go, well, something bad happens, and then people deal with the bad thing that happens.
Yeah.
And that's the body of a movie.
Yeah.
What happens next? That gets resolved. And I go, well, that's your story.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the shape of everybody's story. There's innocence. There's tragedy. Something happens and innocence is removed.
Yes.
And then you try to figure out, what the hell am I going to do with what happened to me? And you figure out ways to deal with it that usually don't work.
What are some ways that don't work that people deal with it?
Oh, little things like addictions.
Oh, yeah.
In other words, something's hurting. I don't know what it is, but this keeps it from hurting. Other ways might be making sure you avoid any situation that would be close to what happened to you.
Right.
You know, for instance, if a kid was beaten when they were a child, they'll either come out fighting, and that's how they deal with it. Nobody's going to beat me again.
Right.
Or they'll go, I'm going to be the nicest person in the world.
Yeah.
And both things, whether you come out fighting or whether you come out just being a little peacemaker, aren't a free way to live.
Wow.
It's not a free way to live. And so to me, it's not just finding that thing, because everybody has that thing and more.
Yeah.
But it is at one level looking at it, taking a deep look at it, grieving it, and being able to live more freely because of that.
Wow. This podcast is sponsored by Athletic Greens. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens. Y'all know every single morning, because I tell you all the time, because I love how it makes me feel, not only my energy level, but my gut as well. I take it in the morning, AG1, and it makes me feel unstoppable. Now listen, it's hard for me to keep up with a bunch of supplements or a routine that comes with a bunch of different products. So AG1 makes it so much easier to keep up with. Very quickly, I noticed that it did help with my focus, my digestion, and all the things. I heard it actually helps your hair, but I ain't got none, so I couldn't tell you about that. Why take a whole bunch of different things when you can just mix 1 scoop of powder in water once a day? AG1 was designed with ease in mind so you can live healthier and better without having to do a lot. Every scoop is packed with 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients of the highest quality to give us major benefits. My AG1 is delivered to me every month, so it's really easy to make it a daily habit. If you're looking for an easier way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/humanhope. That's athleticgreens.com/humanhope. Check it out. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. And I can't think of a better show to be sponsored by BetterHelp than this one, because we are talking about our mental health. And I know how much time I spend on someone else in every given week, on my family, on my Instafamilia, on everybody, but I have a hard time focusing on myself. And it's so easy to get caught up with what everyone else needs from me and never take a moment to think about what I need for myself. It is hard. I get it. My dad, my parents, my kids, my wife, everyone needs me, but we have to help ourselves as well. It can leave us feeling stretched thin and burnt out, and therapy can give us the tools to find more balance in our lives. I have benefited from going to therapy, and you can too. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just got to fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist, and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/humanhope today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/humanhope. Looking at it, that's what I'm assuming that's why most people don't go to a counselor, because they think to themselves, I don't want to look at it.
Yeah. In fact, the common word is, look, I've already thought about it. I've already seen it. It's happened. It's a long time ago. Let's move forward.
Right.
And I go, okay.
Yeah.
And then I go, but before we move forward,
Yeah.
because, I've had people say to me, when we were little, Dad roughed us up a little bit, and I'll go, okay, can you tell me what just roughed us up a little bit?
Yeah.
And they tell the story, and you go, that's not roughing up.
Right.
That's abuse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's funny. People are looking at things and they go, well, I don't have any terrible thing that happened. I go, okay,
yeah,
that's fine. Eden is over.
Uh-huh.
And the things that made it over are worth looking at, even if they don't seem that serious.
Yeah.
The little girl who has this little ballet thing ready to go, and she happens to go in to perform it during the Super Bowl in front of the TV.
Yeah.
And someone says, "Get out of the way."
Oh. Wow.
And 20 years later, this woman, just doesn't want to be seen.
Yeah.
And pulls back.
Wow.
Because she's going to get out of the way.
Yeah.
And if you try to show your beauty, you'll be shamed.
Wow. Wow.
So
so you're right. Yeah. So it's not like there was abuse there. This was a moment in time that could literally affect you forever.
Yeah. And it can be subtle. It can be there may be a parent that's just not present with you, that's absent.
Yeah.
And so you live with the pain of that absence.
Yeah.
And looking at it means seeing it for what it is, understanding its impact on you.
Yeah.
Grieving it and moving on.
I go back to, again, you've seen thousands of people, but I go back to, there are a couple things when I was in your office. Hopefully I'm not giving away any of your secrets as I'm sitting in the chair. And one of the things that I was very scared of was that I was going to be exposed. I was so terrified because I'd already exposed my heart and my crap to my wife and friends. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm moving, we're healing, we're moving through. But there was this fear of, I can't remember exactly how I told you, but I remember telling you this. I was like, I'm going to be on stage, Al, and I'm going to be on stage, and I was scared that this person was going to walk into the auditorium and scream at me, "Carlos, you are a this, you're a that." I don't even know if you remember this. You're this, you're this. And I remember being petrified that I'm going to get found out. And I can't remember exactly how you said this, but the sentiment was, okay, Carlos, what if that does happen? And if they walk in and they spill all of and they call you a liar, a thief, a whatever, all the things, you just smile at them and say, yeah, you're right. And?
Yeah. I do remember that.
Do you?
I don't remember a lot, but I do remember that because it resonated with me, because there was a time where when I started speaking publicly and in groups, I go, there are people out there that know things about me that I did.
Yeah.
And I did. I don't know if you call it fantasize. I fantasized about them standing up. And so when you said that, I was going, yeah, I get it. And I don't know who talked to me about it, which I passed on to you.
Yeah.
But I remember them saying.
Yeah. Finish that thought out for me.
They were saying, they said something like, what you need to do is trump them. And I'm like, what do you mean? They said, well, basically, they say, I know this about you. You're this. And everybody in the crowd gets hushed.
Yeah.
And then I go, oh, you don't know the half.
Oh, that's what it was. Yes.
You don't know the half of it. There's far more.
Yeah.
And according to Jesus, I am a liar, a thief, an adulterer, and a murderer.
Yeah.
So the good news is that I've been forgiven for that.
Yeah.
So may I go on with my talk?
Yes. I just remember hearing that and then feeling like, oh, I am that and so much more. And so we all are. And I've been forgiven,
And there's something about living with the freedom that you always have an ace.
Yeah.
To play, and it's not to win, but it's to lose.
Yes.
Like, you're this. Oh, yes. But I'm more. Put that ace down there.
Boom.
And then you go, the conversation kind of goes,
yes. Because you have an ace to play, not to win, but to lose.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, that'll preach.
That'll put that on a t-shirt right now.
If it's the title of your next book, I get a cut.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
no. But it really is true, because there's a freedom in knowing that you're not perfect.
Yeah.
I know that sounds a little strange, but or being able to admit that, no, I'm broken.
Yeah.
And I've had the chance for some healing
Yeah.
and forgiveness.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
But, because I think so many of us live in shame.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, even the moment you're talking about that happened
Yeah.
to both of us, that's just shame screaming at us, going, "It's going to happen.
Yes. Yes.
It's going to happen. They're going to find out."
Yep.
I think a lot of people, including myself, for a long time, I lived with this thought of, they're going to find out.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, but I don't know what they're going to find out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
yeah.
mean, I did have some thoughts.
Sure.
But it's more like, they're going to find out. What are they going to find out? I don't know, but they're going to find out.
Right. Right.
And that's just shame dwelling in there and just waiting to pounce.
Totally. Well, and I think a lot of my listeners will, everybody has something like that in them that they're scared of, whether it be at work, they're going to find out, whether that be at, they're going to find out, everyone's going to find, and I love that. The whole idea of an ace card, that you got the ace card to lose. Like, actually, I'm worse.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting when my wife and I were dating, we were moving toward marriage.
Yeah.
And I was 36 and she was 32.
Okay.
And so
5 years ago. It's amazing. You've been married 5 years.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe 35.
Okay.
But there was this moment that we knew was coming.
Yeah.
Individually, we knew that we were gonna get married, probably.
Yeah.
And I was visiting here in Nashville where she lived, and one evening we came together. We were sitting in the living room of her house, and we both came to tell the thing about us that we thought would send the other away.
Wow.
Like, this is so bad.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think she went first. She said,
Yeah.
"I have something to tell you," whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember her telling with tears and just shaking and going.
Yeah.
And when she was finished, I really went, "That's it?" And then it was and I go, "No,
Right.
what?"
Right.
And then I did the same thing with tears and with like, "Oh no, she's going to leave." And
Yeah.
she goes, "And?"
Uh-huh.
And it was that freedom of
Yeah.
somebody knows,
Yeah.
and they're not going to run away.
Right.
And I think the longer I live, the more I go, I'm not surprised by anything.
Yeah.
And therefore not shocked by it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
because so many people over the years have come to talk, and they're bringing us this thing, and often they're not bringing it, it's hidden.
Right.
And they're waiting for it to come out, and they just know that my eyes are going to go down or something. And when my eyes stay,
Yeah.
it's like
Whoa.
like
It didn't scare him off.
they didn't leave.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
then we can start having some conversations.
For me, I hear that and I just think I even think of conversations with my kids and how we can feel so alone. Like we're the only one with a thing.
Yeah.
Like we're the only one with a thing. No one else has a thing, but everyone's got a thing. Like everybody has a thing.
Yeah.
Everybody, and I'm trying to let people know through this series, like you don't have to necessarily, and you said this earlier, have something like this big ugly spider, as I call it, to bring into a counselor's office or a therapist's office, to be able to have to work on. Like, would you say that counseling is something that everybody should do?
In some form or another, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Because I don't have the eyes to see myself. And it takes someone from the outside, whether it's a good friend, whether it's a pastor, whether it's a counselor, to help you see yourself, to hold up a mirror, to me, that's what marriage is about, is that now someone lives with you who holds up a mirror to say, this is who you are,
Yeah.
wonderful and awful.
Yeah.
And then we can be honest about it. So
Yeah.
yes, I think because I just can't see myself clearly
Right.
at all. 'Cause
Right.
I think I'm, whatever.
Absolutely.
And then you go,
Yeah.
oh, well, no, you're not.
Yeah.
But we're blind to ourselves
Yeah.
unless there's someone to mirror it back.
Yeah. Yeah. You you actually have something that you've put together that I think because you worked with so many artists, it's a framework that you're able to take artists through. But as I was reading through it, I was like, wait a second, this is literally for everybody.
Well, yeah, it's funny. I don't remember I think it was a label asked me to come and just present some thoughts about what practices and thoughts and make a healthy artist. So I started writing some things down over the years. I think like, if you do this, you might be healthier.
Yeah.
If you do this, you might be healthier. And it was called The Way of the Artist. But but I go, you're right. With just a few things tossed out, it's really for me and for everybody.
Yeah. The Way of the Human. Go ahead and write that.
The Way
book.
of the Human. You can just do it part two.
Well, yeah, no. So I mean, I'd love to just. Maybe, I mean, there's, I don't know, 15, 20 of these.
Yeah.
Pull some out that I would love for you to maybe unpack.
Sure.
Some maybe I'll make it personal, and then some we could just talk about like in general.
Yeah. So these are things that
It says some principles to live by is what it says.
Yeah, and that's healthy living. It's like try some things that lead you to be a healthier human being.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here we go. Here we go. We'll start at the beginning. We'll start at the top one. It says know the why.
Yeah. Know the why is. It started out with the artist like, why are you doing this? And that answer really does influence your life.
Yeah.
Why I'm doing that? Well, I want the big house. I want all the cars. Well, okay, we might need to adjust that.
Yeah.
So that you move in a better direction.
Yeah.
Because there's something more important than that. And I think the larger question is, why are you here? Why are you here? And we're not asked that a lot, but I think it's a question to answer. Like, what am I doing here? What are the gifts I bring to this world?
So here on planet Earth in general.
Yeah. Here. Why am I here? Not just
like in front of Al.
In front of Al.
Yeah, got it.
Ernest.
Ernest.
Yeah, but more, why am I here? What am I here for? Kind of the big picture. I just think to think about that, rather than you just existing here and you're just going along, but there's a reason why you're here.
Yeah.
And it's different for everybody in many ways, but there's some similarities. We're here to love.
Yeah.
But to underline those things, just to get a little solid place to live.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a great question, listener. Know the why. Now, this one I think is maybe used to be specifically, I could see, for an artist or a movie star or a rock star, but now with I think the advent of social media and phones, the one that I see here is be wary of fame. I feel like that's way more applicable these days for a soccer mom or a fifth grader or where suddenly there's an avenue that we all have to get famous. Everyone's like, oh, I want to be an influencer. I want to this or that. Unpack be wary of fame and why that's a principle to live by.
Yeah. The reason I said be wary rather than avoid it is because it's not about avoiding it. It's just being wary of it, because I think there's a fantasy that we have about famous people. And I mentioned it before, but that is when you see them at their best.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
When I see my favorite person on TV playing a part, I kind of believe they're like that.
Right.
and they
No,
made him
totally.
be a horrible person.
Ted Lasso.
Ted
I think of that dude. I'm like, I just want to be his friend. I'm like, what if he's just the biggest jerk as an actor?
I know,
You know?
he probably is. I'm sure he's nice, but
Yeah.
so we fantasize who
Yeah.
they are, and we fantasize about their life and how amazing it must be to ride on that beautiful bus when,
Right.
when you know it's boring.
Right.
But also we fantasize about the perfection of their life, because when I go to a concert, somebody's at their best.
Right. Absolutely.
And I want to believe that.
Yeah.
And so I go, be wary of it, pull back from that, but also just understand that you are you. And even if you're famous, have lots of money, and everybody knows you, it's important to connect with the person that started.
Wow.
I've often told people, particularly if they're moving toward fame or if they're well known or something like that, is keep your old friends, the friends that know you, the friends that know you before, because I do believe there's danger in fame, because you can become. It's not hard to become arrogant. It's not hard to become demanding.
Yep.
It's not hard to be mad if certain things aren't in the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so to me, just be aware that
That's so good.
you don't have to buy into what people believe about you.
This show is brought to you by Indeed. Y'all, I'm speaking to you right now with my first finalized hire that started with Indeed. I used Indeed because hiring was challenging, but Indeed made it less challenging for me. They were my hiring partner. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. So instead of spending hours on multiple job sites searching for candidates with the right skills, Indeed is a powerful hiring platform that can help me do it all. And it actually helped me do it all. I've got a new team member that was found through Indeed. One of the things I love about Indeed as well is that they can help me get one step, and you get one step closer to the hire by immediately matching you with quality candidates. Okay. Join more than 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/humanhope. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/humanhope. Just go to Indeed.com/humanhope and support the show by saying you heard about it on this podcast. Indeed.com/humanhope. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. This podcast is sponsored by Hiya. Y'all know how much I love my Hiya children's vitamins, that this grown man is taking these kids' vitamins and his 17-year-old child as well. You know that typical children's vitamins are basically candy in disguise, filled with how many? 2 tablespoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and all that gummy junk. Yo, ain't nobody got time for that. Formulated with the help of nutritional experts, Hiya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies and then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin D, B12, C, zinc, folate, and so many others to support immunity, energy, brain function, mood, concentration, all the things we know that our kids need. I love Hiya, and you will too. So we've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamins. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/humanhope. This deal is not available on their regular website. Go to hiyahealth.com/humanhope to get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. You know, I mean, as you're talking, I'm just thinking even like, there's so many places and ways that is accessible to us now. You know, I think of pastors in mega churches, or I think of like how suddenly we have the accessibility to be looked up to in ways that may lead to unhealth if we're not careful.
Well, yeah, and it's simple. Like one time in my life, I was bumped up to first class.
Oh,
yes,
Okay.
and it's almost embarrassing to say this. So I'm bumped up to first class, and I'm sitting there and getting all the accoutrements that come with first class. And it wasn't long before I got irritated at those people making such noise with their peanut bags in the back and using our bathroom.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And
I can't believe they came through the curtain too.
And I was going, this is why God will not let me win the lottery.
That's amazing.
But it was like, I'm kind of joking, but kind of not.
Right.
And there's something about that.
Yeah.
Even if I was bumped up because I don't know why.
Exactly.
But I kind of, I wore it.
You belong.
And I went, this is where I belong.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's not even subtle. It's like, I'm, this is what I deserve. This is what I should have.
Yep.
And if everybody's taking care of you, I did have a friend who, his friend got really, really famous.
Yeah.
And he was with him before a concert or something, I guess it was. And he complained to the person that was doing the green room that there was a bruise on the banana.
Oh.
And his friend, who was my friend, went, dude.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, there's a bruise on your banana.
Oh my God.
I'm so sorry. But it was so good to have the childhood friend going, dude,
bro,
this looks bad on you.
Yes.
And to me, that's part of being wary of it, having people around you that see you, that go, okay, come on.
Yep.
Come on.
We
went to high school together. I know you.
As the famous J-Lo lyrics go, don't be fooled by the rocks that I got. I'm still Jenny from the block. Used to have a little, now I have a lot. No matter where I go, I know where I came from. Cue the song, editor. And I just think it's important to remember, to be surrounded by people that will keep you humble.
Yeah.
And
and keep you from believing what you're not supposed to believe.
Yes. This is one for me.
Okay.
This is one for me. I have a hard time doing this in anything. Practice moderation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to live by that. That feels like it's like pumping the brakes on my fun.
Yeah. Well, let me explain it.
Yeah.
Because
which first of all, I don't like it because it's true.
Well, there's part of it that's true. When I say practice moderation, it doesn't mean live your life like this being the heartbeat.
Sure.
So keep in the middle, practice moderation, just keep a heartbeat, let life be vanilla.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's when I say moderation, it's look at your excesses, and ask questions about your excesses.
Yeah.
Excesses.
Yeah.
Whether that's food, whether that's drink, whether that's socializing.
Yep.
What's going on? Watch what's going on that moves you in the direction of gluttony, no matter what it is, because those are the things that often keep going and then keep you from being present with your life.
Right. That's it's true. Even like last night, I did have this thought, thinking to myself. So this was flying home. I got bumped up to first class. Okay,
did you really?
I'm sorry, I hate to tell you, but it happens to me quite a lot, just because I fly all the time. So I'm bumped up, right? And I had my glass of wine, because I was like, they come by and they ask, would you like wine, beer?
Yeah.
I was like, I'll take a glass of white wine. But then I had this thought. I had the thought of, well, okay, yesterday I had a beer at dinner. The day before, my buddy Brian was in town, and so we went out for a cocktail. The day before was the Nashville SC soccer game, and I had a beer. And then I did think to myself, I've had something to drink for 8 days in a row. Mm-hmm. And I had the without looking at the ways here, the practices, I thought there's an exit. I don't need that. I don't need this. And so it just something popped in my head where I thought, wow, could I not have something tomorrow and be okay?
Yeah.
And so just to take a look at all that stuff.
That's really what I'm talking about, because to be aware that we all have a tendency to not moderate and just, you just did it naturally when you said it.
Right.
Like, I've had something every night. I don't need that.
Yeah.
That's practicing moderation.
Yes. Oh, look at me.
Look
Al.
at you.
Look what you've done to me. Wow. Guys, I'm so proud of myself.
I'm proud of you
I'm
too.
practicing the way of the artist here. One or two more here.
Sure.
Because this is so good. I think this is also helpful for so many people. This one is hard, and I feel like a lot of people try to avoid this, but I know a lot of people are going through very heavy things right now. You say embrace sorrow.
Yeah.
Embrace.
Yeah. I don't know why this has been a thing for me for a long time, but I remember I was teaching a course back in a grad school in Colorado.
Yeah.
And the course was on psychopathology. What's wrong with people?
Yeah.
So one week we studied eating disorders. Next week, suicide. Next week, depression. Next week, anxiety. Next week, multiple personalities.
Sure.
And as I was looking at things, as I was preparing for the course, I was looking at what's going on. I realized that in most everything that's wrong with people, there's a sorrow, there's a sadness that has not been grieved.
Wow. Wow.
Whether it's maybe with an eating disorder, there's a sorrow with a relationship with a parent. If there's they don't call it multiple personality, dissociative disorder, where people are different people. There's usually a horrific event when they were a child that was not grieved. Often, unless it's physiological with depression, there's something that has not been grieved.
Wow.
And so I came up with a theme for the course, and it was the flight from sorrow leads to the loss of hope.
Wow.
If you flee sorrow, you'll lose hope. And so I've realized that people, I don't want to go there.
Right.
And often they hear, if I go there, I'll never come out. And instead of running from it, I go, yeah, we need to embrace it. Why? Well, and this is the question I'm asked too, is like, why do I have to go there?
Right.
I've been there. It's awful.
Right.
And you go, well, I hate to say this, but Jesus says it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what do you mean? Well, blessed are those who mourn. Why? They will be comforted.
Wow.
And my assumption is, and if you don't, you won't.
Wow.
It's just been a theme that I usually often over the years have asked clients, how did your family do sad?
Wow.
How did they do if something happened? How did they do sad or disappointment? And I've never heard somebody say something close to let's embrace it.
Yeah.
It'll be more like, well, look at all the things you have to be thankful for.
Right. Right.
And gosh, we've been blessed. Or what good is that going to do?
Right.
But to me, to embrace it
Yeah.
means to look at it, to hold it close,
Yeah.
to grieve and to be comforted
Yes.
in many different ways.
Say your sentence again about the flight
The flight from sorrow,
from sorrow
running away from sorrow, leads to the loss of hope.
to the loss of hope. So what leads to the gaining of hope?
One, I think it is the beautiful relief that comes with grief and being comforted. I think there's so much to that, because what that means is the thing that happened, the thing that caused sorrow, no longer has the major control that it has. And it allows you to be free, and it allows you to fly.
Wow.
I don't have it with me, but look it up. Mary Oliver has a poem called Love, Sorrow.
Wow.
And she compares sorrow to a little girl that's kind of lost and afraid. And you must love her and take care of her and walk with her. And she's unmanageable and kind of crazy sometimes, but be with her. And she says in the end, and one day you'll realize as you walk out into the morning light, she begins to grow.
Wow.
So it's Love, Sorrow. Mary Oliver, look it up.
Okay.
But it basically is talking about just what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Is that as you acknowledge it, you begin to grow.
Yes, and that is hopefully what this podcast and conversation is doing for people, is giving them the permission to, okay, I am going to turn towards the sorrow, face it, and that may be where, you know, people that are hopeless, people that are looking for hope, I think sometimes are looking in the wrong direction. It's like, no, turn back towards that thing, and you may even find it there.
Yeah, instead of on this end, I'm going to just look for something hopeful.
Yes.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
But to go counter to what you think and go...
Oh, so good.
And the real truth is that, and we do think that, gosh, if I go there, I'm just not going to stop crying. And
Right, right.
No, you actually will.
Yeah.
If you don't go there, you may not stop crying.
Yes. Yes.
You know?
Oh my gosh. That is so good. Al, what we'll finish with this question. What is giving you hope these days? 2023, here we are. What's giving Al hope? It could be anything.
Wow, that's a great question.
Like when you think, oh yeah, I'm hopeful. What's the thing that gives it to you?
You know, this is going to sound really strange.
No, I love it.
I just turned 69.
Yes, you did. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. I'm registered at Home Depot, by the way. No, you know, it's so funny. What's giving me hope these days is thinking about being an old guy.
Yeah.
And I'm beginning to dream of what's it going to be like to be 70, 75-year-old, 80-year-old Al.
Yeah.
And that gives me hope
Yeah.
in the strangest of ways. And I'm not sure what I'm thinking of it.
Yeah.
Because I go, I'm not going to retire. I don't play golf.
Yeah. Right.
It makes me so frustrated and it ruins my day.
Yeah.
But I'm just at the place of beginning to dream of what is it going to look like?
So good.
And I've been hanging out with some old guys.
Yeah.
And I used to think, gosh, they're old. And I look at me standing beside them and I go, no.
I get it. I get it.
But
you have hope in your future.
Yeah.
And in the dreams that's God's putting inside of you now.
For me and for my wife and for my sons, it's like kind of just, and that's just been happening recently, just kind of looking ahead and going, I wonder what's out there.
That is, I think, first of all, I don't believe you're 69 years old. You are a young at heart guy. Listen,
Thank you very much.
You don't look it. But yeah, you know, I think all of us get to that place where, I am hopeful. You know, I'm 49, so I'm 49, so I'm 20 years younger than you.
You kids.
I know, us youths, right? And I was just talking to somebody, maybe even here, remember my manager, Kelly, I was like, I'm so, and maybe this hasn't been normal in culture the last, you know, I don't know, up until recently, but I'm excited about the next 15 years of my life. Like, let's go. I'm pumped. Whereas there's so many 35-year-olds I talk to, they're like, oh, I missed it. I missed my chance. I should have figured it out when I was 25. And I'm like, oh, you don't even know. Like you're going to continue to grow and dream.
You can.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And to me, my father was 93 when he died. And he was always doing something new.
Yeah.
I remember calling him one time when he was 86. And he said, I can't talk now. I said, why? He said, he was in a retirement place. He said, because I'm making homemade ice cream for like 100 old people. And I had to get off the phone. But he was still doing things. And and to me, that's rather than just kind of slowly fading out.
Yes.
There's no low.
Just
Like,
keep
no.
learning.
Yeah.
That's hopeful.
Yeah.
You are hopeful to me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the same I can say of you.
Oh, thanks, friend.
You're bringing a lot of hope to this world.
Thanks,
You
man.
really are.
Thank you. I love you. Thanks for being
You
here.
too, pal.